Hello, everyone. Buenas tardes. Bonjour. And welcome to this Commission for Rental Cooperation webinar about engaging local communities across North America to reduce marine litter. This webinar is an opportunity for us to share the work that we've done over the past several years to engage North Americans to do their part to reduce marine litter pollution at the source, and also to inspire you to act to reduce litter in your communities. Just going to do very quickly a bit of housekeeping first. This webinar includes presentations in English and in Spanish, and there is simultaneous interpretation in English, French, and Spanish. So we invite everyone to choose their preferred language by clicking on the small globe that says interpretation at the bottom of the screen and select their language. So my name is Lucie Robidoux, and I'm with the Ecosystems Unit at the Commission for Rental Cooperation, the CEC. I'm joined here today by three presenters: Chelsea Rockman from the UFT Trash Team, Jose Tello from the Centro de Estudios y Investigación en Asuntos Públicos, and Jennifer Wendt from the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative, the MRCTI. The speakers will share with us how they reached out, informed, engaged, and delivered efforts to reduce and prevent litter through simple actions in Toronto, Canada, Chiapa de Corzo, Mexico, and the Quad Cities regions of the United States. And they did this by engaging communities to become active participants in marine litter reduction. Following their presentations, there will be an opportunity for them to answer questions, and you can give us these questions by selecting the Q&A portion and writing them for us. But first, before we get to that, we will start with an overview of how our CEC work to reduce marine litter in North America has developed over a few years, setting the stage really for local action that is currently underway. Very briefly, for those of you who are new to the CEC, we are an intergovernmental organization that was established 30 years ago in parallel to the free trade agreement between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. And we currently operate under the Environmental Cooperation Agreement between those three countries. So our mission is to facilitate cooperation to conserve, protect, and enhance the North American environment in support of sustainable development. We do this in various ways and with many people. So amongst the many ways we conduct research, we provide tools and training, and really we provide a unique space for decision makers, practitioners, and the public to engage on environmental issues in North America. In 2017, our three governments identified marine litter as a priority environmental issues for North America. Knowing that most marine litter comes from land, we engage with the communities in two transboundary coastal watersheds, that is the Tijuana River and the Salish Sea, to understand the issues surrounding marine litter locally and identify points of action where the communities could act to reduce marine litter at the source before it reaches the ocean. You can see here what that work looked like on the ground with the local population participating in beach cleanups and identification of the litter, getting information, discussing possible ways to take action together as local groups, and of course all this being shared at the end through a summary documents and a video that was made to raise awareness about the issue. We got two lessons really from this exercise, from this initial work. First, that coastal communities were generally aware of marine litter, but inland communities were not necessarily so. And second, we learned that those who were aware and wanted to do something didn't know where to start to get to local action. So clearly there was a need to raise awareness about marine litter originating from inland communities, and also to help guide those wanting to effect change locally. To address this, we developed two tools to help raise awareness and support engagement. A practical guide for any community, group, or organization seeking to engage locally in marine litter reduction. And the last stop, the Ocean Toolkit, a set of ready-to-use public awareness material. The Community Engagement Toolkit was developed to help North American urban, suburban, and rural communities located inland and coastal areas and coordinate efforts to reduce and prevent marine litter. It was developed as a practical, accessible resource for local organizations, community leaders, or anyone passionate about leading local or regional initiatives to address marine litter. It offers an introduction to organizing, building, and sustaining momentum around community actions and initiatives to reduce land-based marine litter. So a few shots here of what you can see inside the guide. So that guide is really a how-to guide for any organization wanting to engage locally to reduce marine litter. Incidentally, most of the guide is also applicable to community engagement and activation in general. So it's good for anyone who wants to get their community going around a shared issue. That guide is available in English, French, and Spanish, like all CEC products, and it is free to download from our website by anyone, again, municipalities, nonprofits, community groups, anyone else who wants to take action in their community. The Last Stop, the Ocean, is the other product that we developed. It is a website that offers accessible information about the flow of litter to the ocean, and it shows easy actions that everyone can take to do their part to prevent marine litter. So a few screenshots here to give you ideas of what that looks like, explaining how litter travels, how you can protect, what you can concretely do. And of course, just reminding everybody that you can certainly save the ocean from your own litter and that it is everybody's responsibility to do so. The Last Stop, the Ocean, LSTO for short, website also offers a set of ready-to-use universal material that can be used in a public awareness campaign to help shift individual behavior around waste and littering with all kinds of materials such as posters, ads, ready-to-make posts for social media. So basically material that can be used on the ground or online. The material really, again, aims to inform those who are not aware that their inland litter can end up in the ocean, and also to take those who are aware to the next step where they can become active participants in litter reduction. And ultimately, really, that is the goal. They want everybody to have a positive impact on our wildlife, well-being, and livelihoods by keeping our waterways and oceans free from our litter. So it's a great tool for local communities to motivate everyone to act to reduce marine litter. And you imagine that if this tool is used and multiplied across communities, these actions will really have North Americans do their part to reduce marine litter. So a few examples here of the products that you can see from our site. And here, oops, okay, you can see what it would look like on the ground. So it can be a poster at a bus stop. It can be on a phone, or it can be on a website. So again, all of this is available to download and make your own on our website in the 3 languages. So with these great tools in hand, we then went to 3 communities, that is Ottawa, Quad Cities, and Chiapa de Corzo, to show, educate, and communicate about the flow of litter. First, we wanted to show communities what happens with litter in their environment as a starting point to really raising their awareness and to delivering informed action. We work with consultants, Osprey, to install litter capture devices in waterways and put up signs about marine litter on location where the booms were, where the litter capture devices were. And these signs, of course, were made using our Last Stop the Ocean campaign visuals. So the devices were there to pique curiosity, to start a conversation, and also to collect data locally so that the action could be evidence-based. We could get a better idea of what the specific issues were there. Community science activities based on the litter cleanups that were made and what was recovered from the devices also took place. Communities that you see here on the ground then engage in developing plans of action to reduce litter, including identifying opportunities to implement Last Stop the Ocean material. As the project is drawing to an end right now, currently the campaign material is in use in the Toronto public subway system. So anyone who is there, be on the lookout for the material. I don't want to give too much detail. I just wanted to, basically what you're seeing here is what happened in Toronto on the left, in the middle, the work that was done in Chiapa de Corzo, and on the right side, the work that was done in the Quad Cities region in the upper Mississippi. So all of this work was done with local engagement experts who were there to assess local awareness, build awareness as well through community activities, identify specific issues and opportunities on the ground, and really lay the groundwork to activate the local community into reducing their share of land-based marine litter. And these experts are here today to tell us about their experience. Okay, so I will, yeah. So the first person, while you set up, I will stop sharing in a minute, it will present is Chelsea Rockman, our first speaker. Chelsea is an assistant professor in ecology at the University of Toronto, and she's co-founder of the U of T trash team. Chelsea has been researching the sources, sinks, and ecological implications of plastic debris for more than a decade. In addition to research, Chelsea works to translate science beyond academia. For example, she presented her work to the UN General Assembly and at the US State Department. Moreover, she has regularly served as an expert for both the Canadian and the United States government. So she will tell us now about her team's experience working on marine litter reduction in Toronto, Canada. So I will stop sharing my screen, and it is yours, Chelsea.
Okay, thank you. Let me put my slides up. Okay, and Lucy, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see the right thing? Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Buenos tardes. I'm going to talk today about some of the work we did leading up to the beginning of this project with CEC, the work we did with CEC, and also a little bit about how we'll continue using the toolkit as well as our brand new device. So I'm Chelsea. I'm from the U of T trash team, and I'll explain a bit about who we are to get started. So the U of T trash team formed in 2017. We are a science-based community outreach organization, but we are affiliated with the university, and a lot of our volunteers and interns are students and early career researchers. We are founded in science, and our mission is really to increase waste literacy in our community while reducing plastic pollution in our ecosystems. When we began, we wanted to have 3 work streams that were community outreach, so talking to the public, increasing waste literacy that way, education, building school programs in classrooms focused on 5th grade, and then solutions-based research, which is really where our CEC project mostly lies, although we also had a lot of community outreach. So trying to figure out data in order to inform solutions. And when we first started, we started with this dream of actually getting a trash wheel in the city of Toronto. So some of you may be familiar with Mr. Trash Wheel in Baltimore. When we wanted to use this a trash trap as the centerpiece for our work on our 3 streams, we thought it was really important to work locally, but we also wanted to motivate global change because, as Lucy said, plastic knows no borders. But the reality is that really local work, I think, makes a big difference. And ideally, it's multiplied across the world, similar to the Last Stop the Ocean campaign. So our very first project ever we called it Fighting Floatables on Toronto's waterfront. We never got a trash wheel. It was hard to get it into the city of Toronto. But we started working with Ports Toronto. Ports Toronto is the company that basically runs the Portlands in Toronto, so the waterfront, as well as our local airport right on the waterfront. And they were granted a few sea-bins as the first trash trap we ever tried in the summer of 2019. So here's Chris, the first person who kind of gave us a chance as an organization, putting that trap in the water to begin our first year. We then hired students, and our students worked together to create methods to quantify and characterize the litter in the bins. And so this is just a look at our protocol, which was started to be developed in 2019, and it's been improved every year, and it's now used globally as part of the International Trash Trap Network. We've also slowly built up our stakeholders. So in addition to Ports Toronto, we now work with other NGOs like Swim Drink Fish and the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, directly with the city, as well as the provincial government and the industries on the waterfront, like the Waterfront Business Improvement Association and the Harbourfront Center. And together we've built the Toronto Inner Harbour Floatable Strategy, which CEC was really a big part of as we were building this strategy. So before our summer of 2023 with our new traps, we had 11 sea bins and 10 litter traps in 2022. So you can see our project grew in those few years. Then, thank you to our project this summer, we were able to have more types of technologies on the waterfront. So this includes the Osprey litter boom that you see on the bottom right. And Ports Toronto also got some waste sharks that we trialed at the end of the season. We also skim, which isn't very different than the booms because the booms just bring the garbage together in order to skim. So we decided to start skimming in slips where we didn't have booms. So in 2023, we had a big year. We removed a total of 235.7 kilograms of anthropogenic debris. Now, unlike in Mexico, we can't trap all year because of ice and snow. So our season is from May until basically end of October. And so the mass of all of our anthropogenic debris is equivalent to, I believe, 34 raccoons, which is our mascot. And also the sea bins are really effective at collecting microplastics. So we also collected nearly 70,000 small plastic pieces. But what we think is most important about the data is to be able to show the types of materials we take out of the water. And the types of materials we remove actually informs our really applied research or solutions-based research projects. So as you can see, we get a lot of cigarette butts, we have a lot of single-use foodware, and we get pre-production pellets from upstream. That's from industry who make plastic. So we have these pollution prevention projects that are directly informed by what we capture in our different trash traps. And we currently have projects on foam, which most of it we find is from construction in our city, pre-production pellets, single-use foodware, cigarette butts, and recently wet wipes, because we actually had a lot of wet wipes on some of our booms this year. We also had some community outreach that went along and was supported with the CEC project. And so for one of our outreach projects, we teamed up with one of our favorite organizations, Don't Mess with the Dawn. They do pretty get down and dirty cleanups where you put on waders and really get the public together to pull things out of the river upstream. Up in Taylor Creek, which actually is where we also saw a lot of wet wipes. And so here's the group of people after our cleanup with all of our loot. And then we also sponsored a trash trap dive where we got the public together, taught them our methods for quantification and characterization, and had them quantify and characterize what was in our traps. Now here you can see what looks like a big salad. We get a lot of invasive plants in our traps. That's not included in our weight of anthropogenic debris, but the Toronto Region Conservation Authority wants us to remove them. So we're also removing invasives in addition to the plastic pollution. Now here you can see the public did get their hands on the trash, but unfortunately we got rained out about 5 minutes later with big lightning and thunder. So that was a shame, but we still got to interact and meet lots of people who came out even in the rain. And finally, Patagonia let us have a event where we invited the public to share with them our Fighting Floatables strategy, or Toronto Inner Harbor Floatable strategy. And so this was an event with the public at the store Patagonia with free food and drink. And we also had a webinar with stakeholders from across Canada to share the floatable strategy, to share Last Stop the Ocean campaign, in the hopes that other cities across our country would also create their own strategies and use the campaign. And finally, as Lucy mentioned, we currently have posters in the subway. If you are in Toronto, you have a 10% chance of seeing them. They're in about 1 in 10 of the cars on lines 1 and line 2. I just got back from Mexico City and I've only rode the subway twice since they've been up. And so I haven't seen them yet, but hopefully this week. And so here's a picture of our team who have seen them and have taken some pictures of them right there on the subway. They're fantastic. We hear from people how cute they are and how much they kind of, show this message that even city litter can be lake or ocean litter. And then that's my last slide. I want to thank everyone for listening and thank all of our partners. And of course, thank the CEC and Osprey for working with us. And I'll mention that we will continue. One of our Osprey brooms will be back in the water in just a few months. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. It's great to see every time I see that poster in the metro. It's just nice to see all the, having been involved in all this work and seeing how you got it there. It's really inspiring. I will now introduce you to Jose Teo Carrasco. Jose holds a BA in political science and a PhD in natural resources use and conservation. And he has also completed postgraduate studies in the Netherlands and in Australia. He worked in Mexico's federal government for over 10 years and has been a consultant for organizations such as Nat Geo, GIZ, and the World Wildlife Fund. In collaboration with the Dutch Embassy in Mexico and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, he organized Mexico's participation at the UN Water Conference in March 2023. Currently, he is the Director of Water at the Central Consulting Firm, and he will tell us about their experience engaging on litter reduction with the community in Chiapa de Corzo, Mexico. Jose will also be joined by Cristina Cortinas towards the end of his presentation. Jose, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, Lucy, muchas gracias.
Thank you, Lucy, and thank you to the CEC. I'm very happy to see the other teams that are working on this project in the US and Canada. I would like to greet everyone, all the attendees from Chapa de Corso who were part of the project. I'm going to talk about Chapa de Corso's location. It's at the border with Guatemala in the south of Mexico. And Chiapa de Corzo is located in the center of the state of Chiapas, in the heart of the state of Chiapas, geographically, but also historically and culturally. It is a municipality with 112,000 inhabitants, and the main activity is agriculture. In terms of uh, urban solid waste production, according to Chiapa de Corzo municipality, over a half a kilogram per capita per day is generated. We have an open pit landfill. We can see the Rio Grande in Chiapas, also known as Grijalva River, and you can see the course of the river that goes through the municipality. It starts in Guatemala and it reaches the Gulf of Mexico in a place called Frontera in the state of Tabasco. Well, the project is focused on the partnership with different actors, including the municipal government, the government of Chiapas de Corzo, which supported this project from the very beginning to raise awareness through citizen science. And we wanted to strengthen the governance mechanisms in terms of urban solid waste in the municipality. We went through training courses. We delivered training courses. We had 3 sessions of citizen science with the students of high school in one session. We also used a debris tracker platform, and we analyzed the data collected in Geo in Spanish. You can see all data if you want to learn more about it. We also had a webinar with Dr. Cristina, and also we talked to adjourning municipalities, which were very interested in learning about the project. And also we started with local action plan, a clear advantage of the project was the team we were able to create. We can see Dr. Cristina, Dr. Jose Luis, Reina Alfaro from the Autonomous University of Chiapas. You can also see Carlos Velasco, an expert on science, citizen science, Sandra and Alejandra Mendez. All of these people created this team to work on the project. Another key part of the project was the amount of people involved, 160 people involved from different sectors, women and men from public and private sectors. And regarding the outcomes, well, we were able to confirm through collecting citizen science that three quarters of litter is plastic. We also found metal and others, but we were able to get a baseline of urban solid waste in Chiapa de Corzo. And it's very important to point out that we saw that foodware is also an important pollutant in Chiapa de Corzo. The local action plan included the following. Well, we looked at the regulations, the laws and regulations in Chiapa de Corzo, existing ones that helped us enforce them to strengthen or urban solid waste disposal. And we were able to make people aware of where this litter was created, or the origin of the litter. And it is very important to mention that we were able to create an interdisciplinary network that has 20 members now, and that the part of the action plan is to continue working on this network and continue working together with the authorities to be able to follow through the project. Finally, it is important to point out that we have been working with the municipal government to leave a series of recommendations for the following municipality administration. And we're going to continue working on waste management. There is a major fair that receives around 150,000 visitors, and a lot of urban solid waste is generated. So we were able to implement some initiatives with social solutions, for example, and with restaurants. There is a restaurant that is already implementing some measures that is next to the river uh, to reduce the only one use or single use plastic. These are some of the participants. You can see their names on this slide, but the great engagement is what made us very successful. And I would like to pass the floor to Dr. Cristina Cortines, who is the leader of Cristina Cortines Foundation that helped drive this project in Chiapas del Corso. Thank you, everyone. On behalf of the foundation that I lead, the Cristina Cortines Foundation, I would like to thank the Commission for the Environmental Cooperation in North America, because thanks to this project, we were able to trigger the very enthusiastic citizen movement in Chiapa de Corses, motivated to stop the flow of plastic waste, as well as other urban solid waste that will reach Rio Grijalva, and that goes through the beautiful ecosystem that we have in the Sumidero Canyon, that takes the water to the Grijalva River, and then in the Gulf of Mexico. The CEC in North America has created a tradition in the engagement of all the social stakeholders in different activities such as today's. And for that purpose, CEC has developed methodologies and other processes to guide that engagement, and everything is accessible through the website. The added value that was provided to this project with the participation of our foundation was to take advantage of two things. On one hand, what Jose Tello has already mentioned, Chiapas has laws and regulations related to urban solid waste management in the state and the municipalities. And the municipality of Chiapa de Corzo has a code for waste management as well. Based on these laws and regulations, we were able to have the guidelines that are consistent with the purpose of this project, but also with the principles and practices of circular economy. And in Mexico, the national government and many subnational governments and municipalities have promoted a series of actions to build roadmaps, including laws and regulations for circular economy in solid waste, as we did in Chiapas. So there are favorable conditions to attain our goals through an action plan that implements a short, mid, and long-term activities. So thank you very much again. And we are very pleased to be participating together with representatives from Canada in the United States in such a project. And in Mexico, this has to do with an initiative that was triggered by the citizens that ended up in an interdisciplinary network to prevent plastics from getting to the ocean. So we're going to continue supporting this project and the implementation of this action plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jose and Christina. Again, very inspiring to hear you and see that you we had a chance to work with you in partnership and really benefit from your expertise and knowledge on the ground. And it's great to see that it is a triggering change beyond the project. Our final speaker now is Jennifer Wendt. Jennifer is the Plastic Waste Reduction Manager for the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative, the MRCTI, who is working with the UN Environment Program, EPA, local governments, agencies, institutions, businesses, and citizens to reduce plastic waste along the Mississippi River corridor and watershed. Jennifer also works at BFA Engineering, a firm with expertise in stormwater and floodplain management. She began her career with a degree in chemistry, working in environmental laboratories, analyzing soil, water, and wastewater from contamination. And from there, she worked in local government, public works, solid waste management, with a focus on resource conservation. So Jennifer has devoted her professional career to environmental stewardship, and she will now present their marine litter reduction work with the communities in the Quad City region of the Upper Mississippi and the United States. Jennifer, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me and see my screen? Lucy, you can see my screen?
Yes, it's all good. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to talk about the work in the U.S. This is an area, the Quad Cities. You've heard Lucy mention it a few times. I want to show you exactly where it is. The Mississippi River runs through the middle of the country, and it runs right through Illinois and Iowa. And so the Quad Cities is this area of cities right here in the middle, on both sides of the river that have always worked in collaboration. It's a really great area with about 380,000 population. I want to mention before I go into this project who I work for. MRCTI is an association of 105 U.S. mayors along the corridor of the Mississippi River, 10 states. In 2018, the mayors made a commitment to reduce plastic waste along the corridor. But we weren't really sure how to do that. So at that time, we joined forces with, first, before I go there, I want to give you an idea of the Mississippi River watershed. I apologize. So right here in this star is the Quad Cities, and you can see that everything in the Quad Cities drains down the Mississippi River to the Gulf and to the ocean. But when you take a look at the entire watershed, you can see how critical this corridor is, as it drains 40% of the continental US. 32, all are part of 32 states and a couple of Canadian provinces. So it's a really important watershed, and as we all know, it's easy for litter to travel through storm drains and tributaries to the river, to the Gulf, and to the ocean. Real quick. Okay, so basically what we did when the mayors made that commitment is we began the Mississippi River Plastic Pollution Initiative. And this initiative was a collaboration between MRCTI, the United Nations Environment Program, and the University of Georgia, and supported by National Geographic. And what we needed to do was create a baseline of litter that we were finding along the corridor. So we launched events in each of these cities here, from St. Paul, Minnesota, the Quad Cities. This was in 2021. St. Louis, Missouri, Mississippi Delta, which is Greenville and Rosedale, Mississippi, and in Baton Rouge, and collected about 130,000 litter items using the marine debris tracker, as you all have too as well. This down here shows a list of the organizations that partnered with us on that data collection. And you can see here the mayors, each of the mayors of the Quad Cities and beyond the Quad Cities. I know you think quad means four, at least that's what I always learned. But I've learned beyond that the Quad Cities includes a lot more surrounding areas. So the mayors all took part in discussing the importance of plastic pollution. It was a really great event. And this really showed the Quad Cities' commitment, because we had top-down leadership that wanted to do something about it, and then all of these organizations that were very interested as well. So when we were approached with this particular project, because we had already had this background connection in the Quad Cities, lots of local champions, the city of Davenport, Robin Dunn, major champion on this project, Dawn Temple, Extreme Cleanup, lots and lots of champions. So it was a great opportunity to build on what we had already started in the Quad Cities and what the community was already doing. So up here you can see the capture device in one of the creeks, kept capturing all kinds of lovely things. We had a community science data collection and an event that really showcased the project. And this was prior to the local action workshops, which I will say now, talk about next. So, but this really kind of kickstarted some more interest and continued that momentum from the previous data collection a year prior. So with that, I want to talk briefly about the data. So when we collected data in 2021, the top items, cigarette butts, food wrappers, paper and cardboard. And it's interesting because at that time, the plastic beverage bottle was down lower, which we thought it was possibly because Iowa is the only state along the Mississippi River that has a deposit return system. And then we had somebody from Partners of Scott County Watersheds collect data within a creek for one whole year and found that plastic wrappers, styrofoam, and plastic in general was the top items. And then the plastic beverage bottle kind of kicked up and a little more prevalence. And then when we did the community science activity in October 2022, it's still food wrappers, cigarette butts, always in the top three, plastic bags and beverage bottles. And those all three were from citizen science data collection. And then down below is the data that from the actual capture devices. And you can see there that the water bottles, beverage bottles and containers and water bottles were the majority of the material. Styrofoam, of course, is a major problem. But all in all, we've seen that at least 75% of all the litter collected, all the data collected was plastic. So moving on from there, we held some community workshops to really get a feel for what the community really wanted to see in a local action plan. So we provided the data from the collection to events, and then provided the Last Stop the Ocean campaign material to really get input on exactly what would be the most effective. And it's really interesting to know here. And then we also put out a survey, in which interestingly, the survey said that it was only for Quad Cities residents. And when I went to check it, we had 5,000 to 6,000 responses from all over the world. I'm not sure how this survey got out, but obviously it's an important topic to people, because we had survey results from Australia, China, Germany, all over. But thankfully, people put down their zip codes. So we were able to get about 250 survey results from the Quad Cities community. And the most comment on the survey, we had an open-ended question. The most commented on was to encourage reduction and to reduce the use of plastic products, and the education piece, and then some of the encouraging reusables, of course, additional recycling, ban on plastic bags. So what I found really interesting at this point is that from October 2021, or even when we very first started this in 2019, the general consensus was we really needed an anti-litter campaign. That's what we needed. We needed people to stop littering. So when we fast forward to this campaign that we worked on, there's been a real shift in mindset, I felt, from, oh, we just need people to stop littering, to, okay, we really need to change our materials and figure out a way to use less plastic. But we had a great turnout, a lot of really good input. And we had a steering committee made up of local organizations, champions within the area. And really at this point, I realized that the Quad Cities is a showcase area for our work on plastic pollution in the region. So when we put up the educational material, the local Last Stop the Ocean material, these were the top commented on pieces. So really the idea of pushing that your litter travels to the ocean, it has no boundaries. And then a big one is that cigarette butt. And I'm sure you all know that a lot of people do not understand that the cigarette butt is also plastic. So we're just now getting started with getting this in bus shelters, and then some other opportunities. I've gotten lots of input on how to implement this in the best way possible. And in conclusion, like I said, there was definitely a shift in mindset from anti-litter to reduction and reuse and sustainable materials. And my biggest takeaway from this region is I've realized how many champions there are. And there's really an appetite for change. So we created the Quad Cities Action Plan on plastic waste that is very specific to organizations and activities in that region. There is a local campaign called Skip the Plastics by Nicolina's Turtle Co. And she's 12 years old, and she's pushing restaurants to stop handing out single-use plastic. Got a lot of endorsement from the city governments and some local TV ads with Scott County Waste Commission, and another amazing group. Our challenges were really the fact that this is a bi-state region. There's different policies on both sides. Iowa has a bottle bill, but they have a plastic ban. I don't know if you all are aware of what that means, but in Illinois, they do not have a bottle bill, but they have ability to ban plastic bags. The Iowa side has an excellent recycling facility. Illinois has a little bit more work to do, but of course the biggest issue, like all of us, is the lack of resources and staff to implement. So, but we're working on that, and it was a great opportunity, and I'm just really proud of the Quad Cities and these organizations, because they're already, from this local action plan, taking steps to for bulk procurement policies and the skip the plastics, and there's been presentations on this whole initiative. It's been there's a lot of action to come and a lot of opportunity for local policy around solid waste and contracts with vendors, contracts with recyclers, contracts with landfills, all kinds of things that folks are interested in doing. And I believe that is all. I will stop sharing. Thank you all.
Lucy, you're muted.
Yeah, and the machine just told me so. Thank you. Yeah, I was saying it's another good example of how much you can move forward with the local engagement and getting everybody on board to do this. It's now time. We have a few minutes for a question and answer period. Yes, let me see. I'm trying to see if we have questions here. If you have questions, you can type them in the Q&A post, and I am really looking to inspire all of you here with that with that sign, which is, I will admit, a mock-up, but imagine that could be in your town. That tells the whole story in the material from the travel and what can happen. So again, this material is there for you to use. I am just opening questions here. Somebody is asking if the posters are available as a free resource to use. Yes, they certainly are. So they are on our website. Again, we have English, French, and Spanish versions, and you can customize these, brand them with your own organization's logos and the like. And in a couple of minutes, I will tell you about an exciting series of webinars that is starting in a couple of weeks, where you will have all of your specific questions answered about how to use the product, but they are there for you free of charge. We do not, it's not print material, but you download them and you print them as you would like. Looking for another question here. Somebody is asking if we've compared the 3 projects in each country to show the similarities and the differences, and I think that has to do with what was found in terms of the trash found and all this. We haven't formally done this, but what we have found across the board and through our previous work in the 2 areas around the transboundary areas around the Tijuana River watershed and the Salish Sea watershed, is that obviously the top elements tend to be plastic based, and they tend to be cigarette butts and single-use plastic items, most of them related to food, so forks, straws, wrappers, and the like. But we did not take that comparison further. I think we're very conscious that the similarities locally are, there's similarities, but there's many differences, and we're really most interested in working on evidence-based action. So it's not about what the others are doing, it's about what's happening in every locality. I have a very good question here for, I think, our panelists. Don't know who wants to take it, but somebody is asking, in our opinion, what's the key for community change? A big question. Don't know if anybody wants to take this one. What is the key element to bringing change in community?
I'll start with that. I think the biggest thing is to bring it to the boots on the ground folks that generally feel the same way about litter in general, and even about single-use plastics. I know in our country, a lot of this environmental work becomes very bipartisan, but when you talk to the people the boots on the ground and the organizations that make things happen, it is not at all. And this doesn't have to do with any controversial topics. It has to do with litter and the quality of place that you live in. And I've never talked to anybody on either extreme politically or diverse group that doesn't say, oh, plastics is not a problem. People want action. And if you give them some ideas and guide them in the right direction, because sometimes they want action but aren't sure what to do. And I think that's there's major potential for community change in that way, talking to people, communicating, and really listening, actually, more than anything.
Thank you, Jennifer. Chelsea or Jose, anything you would like to add?
Sure. I think what's been most effective for us is, the data that we collect tells us what are the biggest sources locally to Toronto. And then every summer, basically, we share our data with policymakers in the community, the city councilors, the businesses. And then we start these really local programs, research programs on the different sources. And then based on our data, again, we share them. And we've had a good situation, for example, with microfibers, where now some of our research is cited on bills to actually put filters on washing machines. So I think for us, what we found to be most effective is writing these 1 or 2 pagers and giving them to the people who make policy.
Thank you, Chelsea. Jose, anything you'd like to add?
Claro, no creo que haya una sola clave.
No, well, I don't think there is just one key element. I think there are a series of things that have to be taken into consideration as important. The community can change if the members of the community change. That's something that we have been able to see, and this is something that has been happening with a network that has been created to generate this change. This change has to come from the source, from the location, from the government, the citizens, the universities, and all the stakeholders. If I had to select one key element, I think that I would select what my colleagues have already mentioned, is how all these members of the community organize to create long-term policies and implement them successfully.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jose. I think that's a perfect way to end. Basically, it's about getting people activated and working together on a common problem based on your own local conditions. Of course, we have these tools to help you out. So with mindful of the time that is running out, I will invite all of you to register to our webinar to learn more. This is basically a webinar, a series of webinars for anybody who wants to learn more about the Last of the Ocean campaign material, somebody who's already planning to use that material. So we'll be hosting these webinars on March 21st and on March 27th. Each session will be offered twice in each language. They are repeat sessions, so you don't have to attend the whole series. So there will be 2 in English, 2 in French, and 2 in Spanish. So you will learn there how to use the material online and on the ground, and to make that material yours and hopefully find the answers to your questions about using this material. Unfortunately, our registration page is not live at this exact moment, but it will open very shortly this week. So we hope to see you there. And I am, yeah. I would also like to, of course, thank you and thank everybody, our presenters, everybody for participating. On a final note, I really want to please ask you to take 2 minutes to answer our survey. You can do so by clicking on the QR code or going to this site. Your feedback is really important for us because it helps us to shape our events and our outreach efforts. And of course, if you have any remaining questions, you can also reach us at LSTO, that is Last Stop the Ocean, LSTO@cc.org, and that will reach us. Turning to our panelists, any last words before we sign off?
I would like to make one because I saw a couple questions in the chat about kind of the responsibility, and really the ultimate goal is to have a blend of responsibility. We know consumers have some responsibility in this, even though we know the producer does a lot of damage. But as consumers, if people are still using single-use plastic bags, still using single-use plastic water bottles, these are things that you as a consumer need to make a change now. But there is a collaborative effort for local policy, state policy, and really national policy happening right now. And of course, the International Negotiation Committee this year in Ottawa, INC4. So there are a lot of things at the upper level. And I've seen a lot of industry from when I first started this in like 2018 till now really change from putting it all on the consumer to saying, okay, we need to have a blended responsibility here in North America, like they do a little bit more in the EU. That's all.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I think on that note, again, I think it's the point we can all we can all find a point where we can do our part, and certainly that's what these efforts explored. So again, I think with time running out, I will say thank you to everybody. Oh, I see that. Sorry, Cristina Cortinas, if we can stay online for a minute. I see that your hand is raised.
Very brief. I think that sharing successful stories will help everyone to commit with this kind of projects. And through digital networks, people in Mexico are now communicated all over the territory. So I think this is going to be a very successful story in the short term. Thank you.
Thank you. And on these last words, again, I will thank you everybody for joining us. Don't hesitate to reach out, lsto@cec.org, and we hope to see you at our webinar series that will help you to use that LSTO Last of the Ocean campaign material. Thank you. Have a good day.